Midwest editor at a group of editors meeting at the White House. And the president, as always, is trying to be very helpful in responding to all of the questions. And he gave a perfectly honest opinion, which I don't think anyone can had any particular quarrel with. It's the raising of the subject that seems to cause so much problem. And I noticed one article recently that was critical of my letter because it said I shouldn't be discussing the subject at all. Well, there's a great temptation not to discuss the subject, but sadly others aren't quite as self-restrained. The subject is being discussed, but it's being discussed, frankly, as I said in the letter, inaccurately.
The policy of nuclear deterrence, wrote Mr. Weinberger, has been approved through the political processes of the democratic nations it protects since at least 1950. That is a fine example of official truth. It implies that the West's nuclear policy evolved through the normal democratic checks and balances, when in fact the policy was conceived in utmost secrecy. Typical of this secrecy is the directive for plans to fight a protracted nuclear war, which, says the Guardian report, is part of a top-secret national security decision document that was drawn up in the autumn of 1981. President Reagan's strategic doctrine goes further towards accepting nuclear war as a practical option, in that it specifically states the goal of winning a protracted nuclear war.
The decision to use nuclear weapons in Europe is purely a U.S. decision. One of the great myths that's been perpetrated in Europe is that somehow the NATO countries, Chancellor Schmidt or Prime Minister Thatcher, will have something to say about whether or not the U.S. uses nuclear weapons. They will not. Now, we may consult with them, and we may take their advice, and we may not. But if we decide to use nuclear weapons, there's nobody in Europe that could stop us.
Is the West our way of life?
The 1979 decision to deploy cruise missiles was to counter Soviet SS-20 missiles. That was the official reason given. What is seldom mentioned is that on the integrated battlefield of Western Europe, there is already nuclear artillery and nuclear mines and all manner of small, convenient nuclear weapons.
The purpose of having a war, let me rephrase that, the purpose of battle, whether we like it or not, is to destroy the enemy and keep yourself from being destroyed. Now, you want to have as efficient a weapons as you can in order to accomplish your mission. You keep pressing the technological and scientific community of your country, you see. Find us better ways to be more efficient on the battlefield to accomplish our mission. Now, that decision of 1979 reflected